From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OSU update. I'm Jenni Carlson. The front page of the sports section says it all this morning. Pistols hiring. Oklahoma State has hired Brad Underwood as its new basketball coach, and John Helsley joins us on the phone to break this all down. John, we thought that things might get moving after Underwood's former school, Stephen F. Austin, lost on Sunday in the NCAA tournament, but I don't know that anybody thought that it would move quite this fast. The announcement coming Monday night, really about 24 hours after Underwood was done in the tournament. Why the speed? What do you sort of read into that with just how quickly OSU moved on this hire?
I think, Jenny, one thing is that they'd had their eye on Brad Underwood for some time. And I just felt like maybe Mike Holder thought that this was the guy that he had in mind when he talked about his fit, character, proven success, and then obviously the fit. And this is a guy who fits, checks off all the boxes, and they moved quickly. This is a guy who probably was going to be a hot commodity. He's done so well at Stephen F. Austin, won a game in the NCAA tournament this year as a double-digit seed, and nearly made it to the Sweet 16. So he probably, A, already had this guy in mind, and B, thought he needed to move fast.
John, you talk about those three benchmarks that Mike Holder laid out and then seemingly went after and got in Brad Underwood. And I think fit is one of those questions for some OSU fans that they want a little bit more assurance that this guy will fit. He's not an OSU guy necessarily, John. Didn't go to Oklahoma State, went to Kansas State. Talk about fit. Why do you have a feeling that Mike Holder did see this as a good fit?
Well, he's not an OSU guy, but he might be a cousin.
Yeah.
He played for Jack Hartman, who obviously played for Henry Iba at OSU. A lot of the same concepts, obviously. It's right there in the tree. And then, Brad Underwood's from McPherson, Kansas, a small community, and it's like 3 hours north of Stillwater. He understands the area. He's recruited Texas, which Mike Holder said was a very important aspect of whoever gets the job. All of those things combined, this is a guy who fits into the fabric. He understands that style. Kansas State is sort of a sister school, Mike Holder mentioned. So in so many ways, this guy fits exactly into what Mike Holder feels is an OSU guy. And I think OSU fans will embrace him as such as well. Press conference on Wednesday, he'll get a chance to really reach out and touch all the OSU fans.
Yeah, John, as you look back on his coaching resume, he coached under guys like Frank Martin, who's now at South Carolina, Bob Huggins, who was at Kansas State, now at West Virginia, who Underwood and his FSA Lumberjacks beat in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Really tough coaches, guys that really get after their players, get after what they do on the sidelines. From the looks of it, John, it looks like Underwood may be that kind of coach as well, and you wonder, how is that going to resonate with players? It's obviously worked other places. What are you hearing about current players being on board with Brad Underwood and maybe beyond that, recruits and how they are reacting to this news?
Yeah, we saw walk up the great Stephen F. Austin player on Twitter last night talking about how much he loved Brad Underwood. I had a mother of a player reach out to me on Twitter, former player, and say the same thing. So I think players obviously have shown that they like this guy and they'll respond for him. I think you can see that as much in the way they play. Can't tell you I've seen a lot of Stephen F. Austin games, but I watched the games in the tournament, and against Notre Dame on Sunday, they played hard on both ends of the floor. The entire game, they played intelligently. I think those are things OSU fans are going to love. They moved the ball on offense, played really good man-to-man pressure defense. These are things that if you're not bought into the coach and don't respect him, you don't do. And so I think that's a good indication as anything, is just the way they play for this guy.
Yeah, John, I know in coming days we'll hear more from players and recruits, and we'll be gathering their thoughts. But at this point, you've got to think, guys like Phil Forte, who was sort of a question mark. Would he play this fifth year now that he's eligible to go and play somewhere else as a graduate transfer? Would he look elsewhere? guys like him, and who knows on recruits. I mean, that's always open-ended, but you'd have to think it sounds like the Cowboys are going to be able to keep most of these guys in Stillwater.
Sure sounds that way. I had a good conversation with Phil Forte on Sunday, and he was sort of watching and waiting to see what Oklahoma State did. But he told me clearly he wants to be a Cowboy. He doesn't want to go anywhere for his next season. You know, just bring the right guy in. And it looks like Oklahoma State has done that. And I think that's going to be key with Forte also. I see him as the guy who is going to kind of rally everybody back together, kind of that guy who'll say, hey, let's go and let's do this. They feel like they have a chance to really do some decent things next year, given good health, which they didn't have. And so I think there's a good rallying point for them. And, you know, I think it'll be interesting. The next week or so will be really interesting to see sort of what kind of momentum builds, not only among fans, but among these players.
Well, we'll have a chance to see that momentum up close and personal. A 1:30 Wednesday press conference on the court at Gallagher-Iba Arena. It looks like fans, students, everybody's welcome to attend. It's going to be something of a rally to welcome Brad Underwood. Again, 1:30 on Wednesday at Gallagher-Iba Arena. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.